What is up, guys? This is Mike with Sharing in the Disruption podcast. And I've got some fun things to talk about today, some new news in technology. And I'll get started with some news that comes out about Tesla. So Tesla filed a trademark talking about Elon Musk having restaurant concept plans. This is on TechCrunch, and I think this is super interesting. This is honestly an idea I've had before, is integrating like convenience stores and restaurants with charging stations, and sounds like maybe they could be getting into retail space, taking advantage of the time, and giving people something to do while they're waiting for their car to charge. I think maybe the rapid chargers take about 45 minutes or so. So why not make some money off people while they're getting their EVs charged? So this is really cool. Definitely not something I was expecting. I thought they would be more just a provider to gas stations or restaurants or whatever. I didn't think they would get into maybe being in the convenience store space themselves. It says, Tesla has recently filed a new trademark for its brand under restaurant services, a sign the company might be finally gearing up to deliver on an idea that CEO Elon Musk and other company executives have discussed publicly since at least 2017. I've never heard of this. I thought I followed them a lot. The company applied for 3 new trademarks that will cover the categories of restaurant services, pop-up restaurant services, self-service restaurant services, takeout restaurant services, according to the May 27th filing with the United States Patent and Trademark Office that was first reported by elctric. The application is awaiting examination and review. So apparently since 2017, the then CTO JB Straubel, who no longer is with Tesla, said at a restaurant technology conference he might move into the restaurant business. The idea was to turn EV charging stations into full-service convenience stores that also serve food. Tesla has tried out a scaled-down version of that idea by creating lounges like the one at its Kettleman City, California supercharger station. Wow, I didn't know that. Been tweeting about it. Elon, Tesla CEO Elon Musk then expanded upon the convenience store idea and tossed out on Twitter a restaurant concept. And it sounds like something he would say. Going to put an old school drive-in, roller skates, and rock restaurant at one of the new Tesla supercharger locations. I don't know how scalable that is, but I'm sure that would be interesting for like a one-off. A few months later, Tesla did apply for a restaurant and supercharger station, but has been relatively quiet about the potential business venture since. I mean, super interesting. I like however they can, find more use cases for their technology. I think that's bullish on Tesla. I guess like they can make some money doing that, but I wouldn't expect that to change. Like they've got many more super profitable areas of their company than that. I'm way more excited about Model Y or the Cybertruck, the solar installations. I mean, that's just a way to build up their supercharger network. And I think it just makes the ecosystem better. And if they could find a way to franchise that out to where they aren't taking on all the capital expenses, that would be even better for Tesla shareholders. On a similar note, 7-Eleven to install 500 EV. 500 is not that many compared to how many 7-Elevens there are, but I know I've seen EV chargers at BP's. BP has actually been pretty good about starting to add that sort of thing. I've never seen them used. They're always empty. But I think it's just a matter of time. 7-Eleven to install 500 EV charging stations by the end of 2022. And I mean, gas stations, if you're talking about brick and mortar going away, gas stations are like one of the biggest points of contact people really have to go to. Now, EV people are, especially as the cars get better, they're not going to be using electric charging stations that much, probably, because they're going to be able to charge up at home. And why would I want to go sit at a 7-Eleven for 45 minutes to charge my car up when I can do that at night, or maybe at work? And like pretty much, I mean, unless you're driving serious long distances, you really aren't going to be like charging up like you do with gasoline, because you can just recharge it at your house every night. But I mean, it's cool technology, and it's cool that these companies are moving in this direction. 7-Eleven's one of the biggest, so I mean, if they go all that way, then that's a huge catalyst for the industry. Says they'll install 500 direct current fast charging ports at 250 locations across North America by the end of 2022. These charging stations will be owned and operated by 7-Eleven, as opposed to its filling stations, which must be purchased from suppliers. So it's a better value prop for 7-Eleven because they're actually taking ownership of them. Many charging stations from some of the country's largest providers, like EVgo, ChargePoint, these are all stocks, or Tesla's supercharger network, are located in a patchwork of parking lots adjacent to shopping malls or retailers like Target. But a major draw of convenience stores like 7-Eleven is that they're already located in areas adjacent to highways or major roads. So they're more accessible, they're more practical, they're more useful. They may have another advantage in choosing to install DC fast chargers as opposed to slower level 2 chargers. I think fast chargers are the way to go because that is people don't want to wait that long to charge up their car. The majority of convenience retailers are designed for quick in and out service around the time it takes to fill a tank of gas. Many don't offer temperature controlled places to sit, so a longer charging time would likely pose a problem for drivers. While older EV models are limited by the amount of kilowatt charges they can accept, the newer ones accept a wider range charging. You got to think about the charging infrastructure, whether you can get all that electricity in to the different stations. If you're in like really rural areas, the infrastructure doesn't support a lot of this stuff. It remains one of the largest barriers to EV adoption, the charging infrastructure. And planned build-outs from mainstream retailers like the one announced by 7-Eleven could help reduce some customer hesitancy over EVs. This isn't going to be a big needle. Like, it's a big company, so I guess it's a needle mover for the EV industry as far as awareness and stuff goes. I really think people will be charging at home a lot. Moving on, we've got, let's see, we've had a lot of IPOs coming out, and Squarespace was one of them, and that was one I used to be interested in, and I was excited to go public. Squarespace, I would compare that. The only one that's coming to mind right now is Shopify and BigCommerce and a lot of these different sites that help you build online presence, websites. And I have been listening to some stuff about them, and it seems like their growth is slowing. They cater more to a smaller market, where Shopify does like smaller businesses, but also medium scale businesses and very large businesses. And Shopify has tacked on so many super awesome, as somebody who's used Shopify, I don't want to use anything else. Like, they're building up logistics, supply chain, They have a whole app store. They have like tons of developers that are building things constantly for Shopify, and they really point of sale system and all these things that if you're a certain type of store is like crucial, and you really probably don't want to go to anybody else because Shopify is kind of, I mean, there's a reason their stock is way above everybody else's. They actually, like, think about this. They kind of forced Amazon. Amazon was trying to go into their space, and Amazon backed off and said, whoa, like, we can't even compete there. And, like, for somebody to be able to take it on Amazon and win, essentially, that's a pretty big deal. So Shopify, I would bet all my money on Shopify winning in that space. A lot of these things are winner take all, and when someone gets a really good market advantage, they're going to keep winning. And you're seeing a slowdown in Squarespace, and they've made some decent money throughout the years. And I think they just went public for like $8 billion or something like that. But I feel like they're like the number 5 in the space or number 6, or I mean, they're not in the top 3. And so to me, it's not a really good value proposition. It's not really exciting. And I think like they're going to have to expand into some of the stuff Shopify is really good at to grow the business like investors are wanting. And I just don't think they have the scale, the first mover advantage of that scale. And so I wouldn't put my money in them, or I wouldn't put much in there because I don't think it's going to like be a 5X or anything like that. And it's supposed to be a growth stock. So like, I don't really see a huge growth case there. I mean, I think it will grow, but I think you can find a lot more growth, even in a big company like Shopify. Maybe the number 2 and the number 3. All right. There's a company called Sprinkler coming public, which my brain thought might have to do with water. But they do like CXM, customer experience, I forgot, CXM platform. They do like, they help people advertise. A lot of business services for digital transformation, and a lot of big companies use them. They don't have the best information on their website, so I was having a little trouble telling what they do. It says the only platform for managing all digital customer experiences, which is super broad. It says the world's best enterprises use Sprinkler to research, engage, support, market, and advertise to consumers. So I'd have to dig more into that and see. They filed to go public. And one I'm really excited about is Rivian is looking at going public. Rivian builds EVs for they have investors including Amazon and Ford, and they are building the vehicle for the Amazon vans. And they're going to be building electric Amazon vans. And they have a lot of big backing. I think when you're talking about electric cars, there's a lot of electric car companies that are coming out this past couple years in SPACs. And I haven't put my money into any of them right now except for Tesla, because I think Tesla is the best product at the moment. And I'll tell you 3 companies I think could give Tesla a run for its money. Apple's making an announcement that they will be doing an electric car. So we don't really know anything about that yet. And we'll just have to see what they do with it. Apple definitely has lots of money. They have a really good supply chain. They have loyal customers. And we'll just have to see. Like, I mean, they could totally bomb at it, but usually when Apple commits to something, they do a very good job at it, and they don't screw it up. But it's not an easy thing to get into, and I think Apple will either get into it or they won't. I think if they're going to thoroughly weigh what their chances are of being successful in the industry. And if they don't think they can come out like the top three, then they're not going to get into the space. But I think they see too much money right now. And I think they could have a place in the space, more so than the traditional autos. I actually do think maybe VW and BMW will do okay in the space. They got that German engineering, and they're pretty advanced companies, so I won't discount them. And then I forgot which one of them owns Audi, but that's a really good brand, and that would be a good brand to put EV into. But as far as kind of newer companies, the ones I think could possibly be the best are Rivian. They do electric trucks and SUVs, and they're pretty just badass looking. And they are really good, like sport. They could definitely cater, like, just being honest, like I don't think the Cybertruck's going to have like mass appeal to a lot of people. Something like a Rivian has more of that like Ford F-150, which Ford is electrifying that line. That's one of the best-selling truck brands ever, is the F-150 line, and they have the Lightning coming out. So we'll see what they do with it. It's a pretty decent price point, but it is going to be cutting into a much higher margin business, which is their ICE vehicle F-150s. But Rivian, I think, is a really cool company, really innovative. I have to do a bigger dig on it, but I feel like with partners like Ford and with partners like I think they're building the base of the Lightning then. So they might be building all the electric components, like the skateboard for the Ford Lightning. And then you've got them partnered with Amazon, which, as long as you got Amazon money coming at you, you're pretty set. Lucid Motors is another one I think is very interesting. It crashed a lot after it went public for like a lot for a SPAC. And Lucid has people from Tesla and Apple, so we'll see what they do. I think they have some solid designers, and they're going to produce a good car, but producing a concept car is the easy part with these things, and Tesla had no trouble producing like a Roadster and some of their more luxury cars. It was when they scaled up to doing a Model 3 that they experienced like nightmare, hellacious environment. So, if you're trying to get it early in the space, you can invest now, but there's something to be said for letting it play out and seeing how these companies get through the most difficult part, which is, and they're going to be bleeding money through trying to scale it up to mass adoption, just like Tesla was at one point. So it doesn't hurt to just wait and kind of see how this pans out. But if you're itching that bad, I think Rivian and Lucid could be some of the better ones to put your money into. All right, so move on to Twitter. And Twitter currently makes money off ads, which I barely ever even see ads on Twitter, so I don't know how they're making much money. Saying that the CEO of Twitter has bought Scroll, which is an ad blocking startup, and they are pushing into subscription revenue and having like a tiered system for having a Twitter account. And let's see, Twitter has been a free service for its users ever since its launch in 2006. Now it's getting more serious about getting you to pay up via optional subscription service it's building. They have also been building on more services. There's an app called Clubhouse that came out, and I finally got on it, and it's a really cool app. And pretty quickly, as big tech does, they all figured out a way to clone this into their services as quickly as possible. So you've got Facebook doing it on Instagram. They have their own version of Clubhouse. And then you've got Twitter doing something called Spaces, which is their version of Clubhouse. Discord made its own version of it. And so Twitter's also bought a company that, what is it called? Review. Review is the name of the company. It's like Substack, so it's like email newsletters. So what they're doing is glomming on all these like really useful services to Twitter and making it have a lot more value without destroying like the original product of Twitter. So suddenly, like, there is like I just started using Twitter the past year, and I enjoy it quite a bit. But I'm more excited that they're finally adding some more services onto it. Like, I've used Twitter Spaces, and it's a really cool way to listen in on interesting topics and people you follow. And then I've used Review to put out a newsletter. So if they can just keep adding that value, and then I can see people like actually paying for it, I think they should. My opinion is, I think they should only pay for it if you have like a certain amount of followers and you have a certain amount of reach. So you're encouraging people to like build up a following, and then, once you have that following, you don't want to give it up, so you're going to pay because you want to keep access to all those people and the reach you have. But when you're just starting, like, you're like, why would I do this? Like, I don't understand the value proposition. So I think you really do have to have a freemium model, and then like, hey, if you reach the scale because this was a helpful service to you, then you start paying, and you have celebrities paying way up because they're able to monetize it so much. And I think the way a lot of this is going to go is a lot of creators are going to be able to make a lot more money off these things eventually, which they should, because up until now, big tech has really been able to pocket most of the money while they're just really hosting the service. And these people are just putting all this creative IP and stuff onto their servers for free. But yeah, I think this is a good direction for Twitter. I think they've been very slow moving, and I've had a lot of criticism of them in the past. And I wouldn't expect it to change too much. I think there'll still be a lot of frustrations if you're a Twitter investor. All right, moving on to they sold Time Warner, which I think was a good decision because that didn't make any sense. I know shareholders are pissed off because dividend might drop, and I'm not sure how useful Time Warner is going to be to Discovery. Like, it's going to give them a bunch of debt, and I still feel like it's not that great of a company, even that merger. And then AT&T is not even the number one like phone provider, so they need to put all their energy into being better at what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, I have an AT&T phone, and it sucks. Like, the service is terrible most of the time. So they really need to do what they're supposed to be good at, and that is fiber optic, that is cell phone service, and being kind of utility. And there just was no synergies really between their core business and the media empire that they bought. Now, that leads into Amazon, who bought MGM Studios, who has a lot of properties, but the biggest one is the James Bond franchise. They've got quite a bit of other stuff, but it doesn't seem to make that much sense. Like, why would, Amazon's got its own studio. Like, why do they want this so bad? But when you are a big tech monopoly, the strongest position to be in is actually to have like things like Twitch and Amazon Marketplace and all this kind of stuff, which is a marketplace model. But then you disrupted the linear models But then you actually do a hybrid, and you actually have linear model 2 integrated in your systems. Whereas like eBay is pretty much only a marketplace model, but it's stronger when like an Amazon makes its own products and has like Amazon Basics, which is a linear model, which I've got my own problems with. And that gets me into an interesting story. But yes, this is just another thing for Amazon to really just put the nail in the coffin of linear TV. And I just think all these companies are fucked. Like, I mean, except for like Disney and Netflix. Netflix needs to move into, like, everybody thinks Netflix is this unstoppable company, but they literally are still linear, meaning they have to produce every single show that they do. And they need to open it up like YouTube and have user-generated content. So does Disney. And I just think anything else besides Disney and Netflix is almost done for. Like, I think they'll get bought up. Give it a few years. And companies like Amazon and Apple, they have so much money, they can just bleed these companies dry over 5 years. And these companies will just keep trying to like super merge and do all this stuff, and none of it's going to work. And they will all succumb to the big tech monopolies. All right, so I'm going to get into something I think is pretty interesting, which is Amazon Basics, and how. So think of Amazon Basics as like Kirkland at Costco, and so whereas pretty much all of Costco is linear, Amazon had a big marketplace. They were mostly marketplace, and Amazon Basics is them trying to have their own lines of products. Except they sit on all this data, and they're able to analyze all the products that are selling the best. If you're a seller on Amazon, you are essentially telling them how to put you out of business. And once you reach enough scale, they will. And this happened with this one company that was unfortunate. I didn't say they got put out of business, but Amazon released a clone product of their bag. And they have a bag called the Everyday Sling, and I'll let them explain. And I'll turn the mic around to the computer. Let's see. Make sure it's turned up all the way. All right, so this is the ad. So they were actually really clever, pretty much kind of publicizing what Amazon had done to their product, which was selling really well on the Amazon marketplace. And Amazon decided that couldn't be. They had to copy their product. So here's the joke ad that this company made. It's called Everyday Sling, or A Tale of Two Slings. Peak design and Amazon Basics.
This is the Everyday Sling. Peak design.
I need to turn the volume up on this. Hold up. Sorry. Okay, this might be way too loud, but.
This is the Everyday Sling by Peak Design. And this is the Everyday Sling by Amazon Basics. It looks suspiciously like the Peak Design Everyday Sling. But you don't have to pay for all those needless bells and whistles, like years of research and development, recycled blue sign approved materials, a lifetime warranty, barely paid factory workers, and total carbon neutrality. Instead, you just get a bag designed by the crack team at the Amazon Basics department.
Yeah, keep covering that data. Okay, I'll get boss. We'll stop right there. That Everyday Sling. It's a hot seller. Let's basic this bad boy. Right on. Aluminum hardware? Let's do plastic. Durable zippers? Sounds pricey. Flexible dividers? Let's do the floppy ones. Done. What do we call it? I'm thinking the Everyday Sling. That's good, boss.
So if you're tired of supporting companies who innovate and just not willing to pay for responsibly made products, don't. The Everyday Sling by Peak Design and by Amazon Basics. Whichever one you buy, you'll get exactly what you paid for.
All right. I hope you could hear that. Sorry if it's pretty low. It was running through my laptop, so it wasn't that loud. But yeah, the gist of it was just that, yep, they got ripped off. Amazon made a bag just like theirs. They even used the same name, the Everyday Sling. So not even any creativity from the folks at Amazon. And this stuff is done all the time. You know, people put stuff up, and not long after, Amazon finds a way to have a clone product. And you have just essentially put yourself out of business by being successful. So that's why you don't sell on Amazon. Get a Shopify account, build your own marketing, and it's not as easy, but you own your customers, you own your customers' data, or you own the data you collect from your customers, and Amazon does not. So I'm all about innovation, disruption, but once these big tech companies have hit scale, we need lots of different marketplaces and disruptors. We don't want 1, 2, 3, and at some point when they hit a certain amount of scale, they don't become disruptors anymore. They're just monopolies, and they quit innovating. They just kill and destroy by acquiring every other company around them, and they become a black hole of innovation and creativity. And I don't think we can have that in America. And I know it's terrible for the ecosystem. It's terrible for jobs. It's terrible for lots of things. And we need to break these fuckers up. And it needs to stop. So on that, I'll end the stream and just leave it at, we need people to bring more innovation to the ecosystem, and we need government regulation of these big tech companies that are creating anti-competitive environments, and we should support local innovation or smaller scale innovation, and hopefully that'll win out, and good ideas will win out eventually. All right. Thanks for listening, and check out the podcast. It's on Spotify or any podcasting platform. Sharing in the Disruption Podcast, and you can follow me on Twitter at Mike Satoshi 4. All right, have a good one.